Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlamagne the guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yes, indeed.
I know him as DJ Vlad, but everybody else knows him as VladTV. Vlad's here. What up, Vlad?
What's up, Envy?
What's up,
Charlamagne?
Vlad?
It's been a minute.
You know, we really can't call you DJ Vlad no more. Why do we still call you DJ Vlad? You haven't been a DJ.
But he started off as a DJ.
I started off as a DJ.
How I know.
As a mixtape DJ, exactly.
Yeah, man. First of all, Vlad, I want to tell you congratulations because you are responsible for helping the family of Tupac Shakur get justice and closure because of some of your interviews you did with Keefe D on VladTV. Yeah. I have already said it. I think you should win a Peabody. If you was any other journalist outside of hip hop, I think you would get some type of an award for that.
Thank you, man.
How do you feel?
I mean, the purpose wasn't really for him to get locked up or anything else like that because, as I've said before, when Las Vegas PD reached out to me, I didn't respond. I didn't cooperate. You know, my whole thing was this is a story I'd heard for a long time, for close to about 18 years or so. And by actually sitting down with Keefe and getting his whole story from beginning to end, at the end of that interview, I'm like, okay, I pretty much solved the case at this point. You know, shout out to Greg Kading, who actually got the original Keefe D confession. But in terms of the public, that was the first time Keefe actually told the entire story of how it happened, what led up to it, what happened that night, and what happened afterwards. So, I mean, ultimately, I don't think anyone could really be surprised at the outcome.
I was going to ask, during the interview, because it's crazy when he was arrested, you go down this rabbit hole of things that that you've investigated, that you've done interviews with. I thought from maybe the interviews, it made it seem like he had a deal already on the table. Yeah. Was any of that true? Like, I thought that was the reason why he was able to talk about it.
Right. So he had a proffer agreement. So when Greg Kading met up with him, Keefe D
was Greg Kading?
Greg Kading was an LAPD investigator.
Yep.
Who was looking into the entire case. So he had caught Keefe in this huge PCP ring, and Keefe was facing life in prison. So what happened was there's something called a proffer agreement, aka Queen for a Day, meaning that you could sit down with someone, they could ask you a whole bunch of questions, and you could admit to all the crimes you did that day, and you can't be charged with any of those crimes. And in exchange, they dropped the whole PCP case against him. He was able to walk free. But the thing about proffer agreements, from what I understand, is that it's called Queen for a Day because it's only valid that particular day. So if you choose to retell that story afterwards, you could potentially get charged for it. So a little bit of a gray area, and I think that his lawyer is probably going to be fighting in terms of that. But I think Keefe was under the assumption that he said it once, he could say it as many times as he wants. And I don't think that's the case when it comes to proffer agreements.
When you say that Vegas police wanted you to cooperate, what did that mean?
I think they wanted the raw footage. Okay. I mean, I actually have the voicemails from them, like, oh, we've been trying to reach you and everything else like that. And I think they thought that maybe there was a bunch of things because we did 2 interviews that they could use in the case that we didn't publicly release. But if you know VladTV, and both of you have been on VladTV, we use damn near every second of the footage. So they're kind of barking up the wrong tree. But my whole thing was that if someone interviews on my platform, I'm not going to turn around and then work with the police against them.
Correct.
Regardless of what it is that they said. It's just business-wise, in terms of my values, it's not what I do. So I didn't choose to cooperate.
By the way, what could they ask you that they didn't hear themselves?
It's all out
right there.
It's all out there. And he's done multiple interviews. It's not just VladTV.
Art of Dialogue.
Yeah, he did that. He did a few other ones. So it's kind of like...
He wrote a book?
He wrote a book. Well, and that's the whole thing. People thought that I got this whole confession out of the blue. Like, before we did the interview, we got a copy of the book. We read through the entire book, and that interview was, the blueprint of that interview was that book. So there were certain parts where I asked him a question, he didn't really want to answer it, and my thing was like, well, the book says X, Y, and Z, and then so he had to kind of address that. But if you write a book about a crime, I have no problems interviewing you about the book that you wrote.
Yeah.
Well, I had a question. You did this Keefe D interview how long ago?
4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yep.
Isn't it kind of strange that he's arrested recently, opposed to, because, the book was out before you did the interview, so it almost seemed like nobody cared until actually you did the interview and it started getting a little press?
Man, the wheels of justice turn slowly. It takes a while to line everything up. You know what I'm saying? I guess. I'm not involved in the case, and it's really up to Las Vegas PD and Keefe at the end of the day. But it takes a while to line something up, especially as epic and huge as this. And it happened, 26 years ago?
Yeah.
Back in 1996. Like, a lot has to be done in order to get a conviction. And it's not easy because the last thing that they want to do is go and spend, whatever, potentially millions of dollars on a case for it to be found not guilty or just dismissed.
Right.
And it's not even just the Keefe D interview that I think, I would say constitutes you winning something like a Peabody. It's all the interviews you did surrounding it. It's the Greg Kading. Who else? Like if this was the Vlad cinematic universe, what would be all the interviews you got to watch to get the full story?
I mean, Greg Kading, who's the lead investigator, Chris Carroll, who was the first responder that showed up, at the scene after Pac got shot and Suge got grazed. Edie Amin, who was in the car behind Tupac when he got killed.
That was the young ladies that followed him?
No. That's one of the outlaws.
One of the outlaws, yeah.
Edie's part of the outlaws.
I didn't know if he was in that car with the young ladies. No.
Well, there were no young ladies in the car. It was like the cars were driving around and a bunch of girls were like, Tupac. And then Pac like popped out the window and was like, yo, what up? So the ladies, and I think like Edie told me that he thought that maybe it was a setup by those girls, but it wasn't. I guess the girls even got interviewed at one point. They were like, no, we just saw Tupac. We were calling out to him. And that's, by them calling out Tupac, that's how Keefe and them saw that, Tupac is right here, and they'd been looking for him.
So watch the Keefe, Greg Kading,
Edie Amin, Chris Carroll. Yeah, just a lot of pieces.
Gotcha.
Put together.
Now, did he ever say, was Pac the intended target, or was it Suge the intended target? Or because I did see that they thought Pac was grabbing a gun allegedly, and they were returning fire, or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't really. When I pressed him on that, he didn't really, admit to that. But from everything I heard, like I remember I talked to the co-writer of that book, and he told me that when he first met up with Keefe, he was like, "Look, man, I'm very pro-black. I'm very positive. How do you feel about your role in killing one of our great
hip hop
icons?" And Keefe's response was, they had no business putting their hands on my nephew like that. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, everyone is so shocked because it's Tupac. But right now, somewhere in America, some gang affiliate, gang member just got beat up and is out there grabbing their gun right now to go retaliate.
Of course.
This is standard procedure when it comes to this type of world. So everyone's shocked because it's Tupac, and we love Tupac. But this is how things happen in this type of lifestyle, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. How was Pac's family respond to you?
I haven't spoken directly to them, but a friend of mine who knows one of Pac's sisters on his biological father's side said, the family says thank you so much for, bringing some level of closure. But, you also got to understand that he's just got arrested. He didn't get convicted.
Yeah.
I've gotten arrested. Like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that I went to prison. Like, anyone can get arrested. So it's just the beginning of the process.
Have you gotten any threats from this ever since? No, not at all.
Not at all.
It's interesting when you say your intention wasn't to solve the case. So I guess people would say, what is the point of doing all of these interviews? What is VladTV's intention when he puts together all of these different interviews?
Well, I mean, when I say solve the case, my intention wasn't for him to be convicted,
Gotcha.
put him in jail. Like, I'm just a huge Tupac fan. Like, if I loved Tupac. All Eyes on Me is one of my favorite all-time albums. I mean, he's just such a charismatic individual. I mean, it'd be hard to argue that Tupac is not the greatest rapper of all time. Like, shout out to Biggie, shout out to Nipsey, but if you look at worldwide, you see more Tupac murals around the world than any other rapper. And that's because I think that outside of the rapping and the good songs, there's a social commentary involved in what he did. There was the struggle that everyone in every country could really relate to. So my whole thing was like, this is my favorite rapper, and here's a story that's unsolved, but like everyone in LA knew this story. It was like the worst kept secret in LA. So let's try to put it out there and bring it out to the public because there's so many conspiracy theories around it. Suge had him killed. The government had him killed. He's in Cuba somewhere. Like he's still alive. He's, he faked his own death. It's like a lot of it was so ridiculous that I wanted to put a piece together that had all the different angles of the same story, and they're all matching up. Chris Carroll's story matches up. Edie Amin's story matches up. Greg Kading's story matches up. And then Keefe's story is the last puzzle piece in that.
Now, you were supposed to interview Keefe D again before he was raided? What was that going to be about, or what conversation was that going to be, or did he reach out to you, or?
Yeah, he reached out to me. We had a conversation. He had already gotten arrested. When he already got his house got raided, or his wife's house got raided.
And did they find a gun in there that they believe?
They found bullets, which had no. I mean, who's going to keep bullets from a
27 years ago? Yeah.
Murder, like it's crazy. But yeah, his house got raided, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to leave it alone. But then he reached out to me, had a conversation with me, and then his co-writer was the one who I kind of communicate with a lot when it comes to this type of thing. They're like, he wants to do another interview. And it's like, all right, we gave him a deposit, on the interview. Which he hadn't asked for before.
You paid for an interview?
Yeah, I paid for both of his interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vlad pays for a lot of interviews. People don't know that. It's like he does.
Yeah. Well, for certain interviews, and other ones I don't pay for.
Like your regulars.
My regular guests all get paid.
Yeah,
absolutely. Which makes sense because
Boosie and TK Kirkland.
All my regular guests get paid. If you see him on VladTV over and over again, we make money, so we choose to compensate our guests.
That's dope.
As well. So I mean, he reached out. We gave him like a small deposit. It wasn't really a lot of money. And I figured that I'm probably not going to see this again because, his house got raided. And I was hearing that there was a grand jury underway and there was a possible indictment coming. And from what I understand, he hit up a few other outlets and got deposits from all of them. So I think he was just trying to gather up money because he knew that he was about to go away. So it is what it is. To me, it's not a big deal, and it was to be expected.
Any truth to the rumor that he had like cancer or something? That's why he was like.
Well, originally 4 years ago, I remember if you watched the BET interview that he did, he said that he has cancer. Mm-hmm. So but from what I understand, he beat it or is in remission or something like that. So I think there's a certain degree of I have cancer and I don't give a F about it. And I think there's also a certain degree of when the tapes got released, like, for example, I talked to like BG Knockout, who was friends with Orlando. Like, I was told that his family was like really upset over these confession tapes, and him saying that, that Orlando did and everything else like that. So there was the whole snitch tag that people were putting on him. And I think to a certain degree, he wanted to clear his name and get his side of the story out there.
Got you.
I mean, me personally, when it comes to murder, it's no statute of limitations. I would have just kept my mouth shut. But I mean, like I said, they wanted to do it, so we did the interview.
Now this situation doesn't help the rumors or the stigma of the Vlad curse.
Vlad is the feds. Vlad is the police.
Vlad curse. Vlad is the feds. People say a lot of folks get jammed up after they interview with you. Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel bad or regret, doing those interviews after folks get caught?
Well, this is the first interview that I'm aware of that any level of footage that we recorded is actually going to be used in a criminal case. Mm-hmm. Like every other interview we've ever done, people have talked about things they did in the past, and if they chose to do a crime after the interview, it has nothing to do with anything in the interview. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the stigma is the stigma, man. Like people are going to say Vlad's the police, Vlad is the feds. I've heard it literally for 15 years. Mm-hmm. But ultimately it's just not true. But in this case, I mean, it is true to a certain degree. And, if people are mad at me for helping to solve the murder of the greatest rapper of all time, I'm okay with that.
You've been mixing it up a lot this year, Vlad. Like, wasn't it feel like it's this year? Like, now I was wondering, is that you really tweeting?
Yeah, that's me.
How do you pick and choose what you want to talk about or who you want to say something to?
I mean, things I feel strongly about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that some of these tweets have gotten 3, 4, 5, 7 million impressions is a little bit surprising. Mm-hmm. It's not like I have a huge Twitter account. I have like maybe 200,000 followers, but clearly some things I said have hit a nerve with people.
I wonder if Vlad, the personality, helps VladTV grow even more. Do you think like you being more active, doing more interviews, being more active on social media, do you think that helps the channel grow?
I mean, probably. Mm-hmm. Probably. I mean, listen, you could do all the tricks that you want, but ultimately it comes down to strong content. Mm-hmm. When we have strong content, the channel grows and things do well. Yes, you could try to go viral and everything else like that, but people don't realize that a lot of times going viral doesn't necessarily help your business. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like we've had so many. Please have
this conversation, Vlad.
We've had so many interviews. Like, for example, when Gloria Velez interviewed Neo and he talked about the whole trans kids thing, mm-hmm. about how he doesn't support like a kid that's like 12 years old becoming mm-hmm. trans, like, the parents need to step in. That went super viral and it was on TMZ and it was everything else like that. But a lot of times those videos, they go viral that are not on your own platform. So mm-hmm. there'll be like a TikTok that has like 5 million views mm-hmm. and a Twitter video that has 2 million views. But the video on YouTube has like 50,000 views.
Right.
you know, and it just gets stuck there. You know, overall, that interview lost money. So people have to understand going viral and being financially successful aren't always hand in hand.
Oh yeah, I always tell folks that I put value over viral. I think this generation puts viral over actual value.
Yeah.
Like there's platforms that have actual value, consistent value, as opposed to these platforms who you might see every now and then go viral, but it ain't translating into no dollars.
We run a business, man. We have 20 employees. Like, my focus is on the business, not going viral. Being viral is cool, and it's nice to have a look here and there and so forth, but it's like, we've been doing it for 15 years, and it's really about the business and the catalog and the important interviews that we put out there.
Now, also, recently you did an open letter to, I would call it an open letter.
An open letter.
It was kind of like an open letter, his thoughts. An open tweet to Drake and Khaled.
Correct.
Now, why did you feel like you wanted to write a tweet to them?
Well, you sort of see what's been happening, right? When you look at the Gaza-Israel situation, it's horrific. And I put out a statement about that myself, where I said that I feel sorry for all the citizens, you know, from Israel and Palestine that are caught up in what their leaders are choosing to do.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with what Netanyahu has done in Gaza in terms of blockading the country and creating essentially an open-air prison. And I definitely don't support what Hamas did in terms of killing hundreds of people, beheading babies, and everything else like that. It's a serious topic. And when I sat back and looked at it, it's like, okay, Drake is the most famous Jewish person on earth, essentially, right? Who else could do a tour and fill out coliseums worldwide who's Jewish besides Drake, right? Khaled is the most famous Palestinian in the world, but neither one of them has said anything about this at all. And people are saying, well, they're not politicians, whatever. They influence hundreds of millions of people, which ultimately has an influence on the world. And you're not choosing to say anything. And Drake, who has a Jewish mother, you know, which by Jewish law makes him Jewish, but not only that, his parents got divorced when he was 5 years old, and he grew up with his Jewish mother and her Jewish relatives in Forest Hills, which is a Jewish community in Toronto. He had a bar mitzvah. And then when this happens, he doesn't say anything because I think that he doesn't want to potentially affect his record sales.
But why does he have to say anything? Why does him or Khaled have to say anything publicly?
They don't have to say anything. But I'm saying as representatives of these communities, their voices are powerful and they should say something. Just like I have said something.
What are they supposed to say though? But you're educated on the topic, clearly.
And they don't have people around them that can educate them? They have access to the highest level of everybody, you know what I mean, in terms of professors, experts, and so forth.
But even being educated on something don't mean you have an understanding of it to be able to express it. And you don't want somebody to craft something for you and just post it on your social media. And I've been watching celebrities all week, you know, say some of the stupidest shit. Like, I saw Justin Bieber post, pray for Israel, but he put up a picture of Palestine and had to pray for Israel over the picture of Palestine. So it's kind of like one of those things, if you really don't know what you're talking about, you probably should just sit it out.
But you probably should learn about it because, I mean, before Drake was a rapper, he was Jewish. Before Khaled was a super producer, he was Palestinian. Like, this runs deep. You know what I'm saying? That this is the essence of who they are, of their families and their communities. Like, Drake was raised in a Jewish community. I'm sure his relatives feel a certain type of way about this. And look, like, Drake has taken all types of shots at Kanye. But when Kanye went on his Hitler rants, Drake didn't say anything specifically about that. But he takes shots at him.
I guess Vlad is saying, like, if something happened with George Floyd or something happened in our community and you say absolutely positively nothing as a black person.
Right.
I don't think you have to, though. I think if that's your thing, sure. But I don't think you're obligated to do that.
You're not obligated, but I feel like you should say something in your position. And my example was Tupac. When something happens that's close to his community, Pac was going to say something.
Tupac was a one-on-one, though, Vlad.
Well,
like, Tupac.
Yeah, but the caliber of, you know, like, where Drake is, where Tupac was, is
I'm
equivalent.
talking about one-on-one as far as the type of people they were. Like, Tupac was socially conscious. You know, like, Tupac's mother was a radical, a Black Panther.
I got it.
That's not. That's not who those
See,
people are.
I don't really know what's going on over there to speak on, but I get what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at what happened in our community during the time with George Floyd and people were protesting, I think everybody that had a little bit of influence said something, whether it was LeBron James, whether it's a comedian, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's an actor.
All
or
those
actress.
people always do though.
LeBron has just chimed in.
But
You know what I'm
LeBron's
saying?
always chiming in on social issues. That's what he's
But
chosen
then again,
to
right,
do.
Michael Jordan has, right? And people were saying Michael Jordan didn't, so I
Michael
guess
Jordan
it's
never
same.
has.
I guess it's the same
That's the
thing. too.
criticism.
And
Yep.
there's a criticism with him about that. Like I've chimed in. I've chimed in about all these issues.
But
I've
you always do.
I chimed in about George Floyd. I mean, we donated to NAACP during the whole George Floyd, riots and everything else like that. Like I stand behind. Like I'm not just sitting there pointing fingers. Like I've put my neck on the line with saying things about it that other people didn't like. But ultimately, I feel like when you're at a certain level, like you have a responsibility because you have so many people. Like you could shift global thought with just a simple statement.
But Ja Rule doesn't agree.
Shift global. I don't know if you can
They
shift.
interviewed Ja Rule about my statement.
I saw that. But see that when,
That's
when I
wild to
when I
me.
saw your statement, I thought of Ja Rule. I was like,
Everyone
Shut
thought
up,
what
of
the
Ja
hell
Rule.
is Drake
Yeah.
and Khaled? I don't want to hear from Drake and Khaled at a time like this. You know what I mean? Because to me, I'm like, what if Drake and Khaled are doing things behind the scenes? I think that's more powerful than a tweet or an Instagram post.
true.
Like, you're not going to change people's minds on a 75-year-old situation. How long has this been going on for? How long?
Thousands of years.
Thousands?
Yes.
Oh shoot! I know it's thousands. Okay.
No, I mean, I'm.
I thought it was like 75.
I had-
Well,
I
I mean,
don't
Israel's
know.
been around for 75, but I'm
Gotcha.
saying, but there's been a conflict that's been going on forever. I mean, you could trace it back to biblical times, is what I'm saying. It's a very complicated, messed up situation, and I honestly, my heart goes out to both parties.
And that's exactly that. When I'm at home watching CNN and MSNBC, I don't know where people are from. All I see is people hurt, people
Innocent
dead.
people,
I don't know if
civilians,
they're Palestinian,
babies.
Israel. I'm just
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
this is terrible. Like,
20-some Americans got killed
damn.
in the process. I mean, they went to a festival and just open fired,
I knew that.
killing
Yeah.
hundreds, and then they went and started cutting off babies' heads. Like it's horrific.
No, it's horrible.
It's horrific. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not a fan of. I mean, I think a lot of people feel like if you say anything bad about the Israeli government, you're anti-Semitic, and I think that that's stupid. That's like saying you have to support Trump or else you're anti-American.
Mm-hmm.
No, you could not like Trump and be pro-American.
Mhm.
You could not like Netanyahu and be Jewish. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like the people are caught up in this bullshit. You know what I mean? I mean, do you think that the people in Gaza are happy that their buildings are being destroyed because Hamas chose to do this, crazy, attack?
Mm-hmm.
Now people are homeless. People are, have no electricity. I heard the main power plant just got taken out. They're just trying to live their lives, and now they're caught up in a situation that other people have thrown them into, and it's fucked up. And I don't want it to turn into a Jewish versus Muslim versus Jewish thing, because I have very close Muslim friends.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to a lot of people who I deal with, who I have a lot of love for. But yeah, man, it's sad.
I just don't want us to have because I already think America has like a unhealthy obsession with celebrity.
Yeah.
And like we always looking for celebrity to fix the world problems. Like when I started, I promise you, the first time I heard about this, I did not think of Drake or Khaled. I went to people like scholars and academics, people I know who actually know things about this situation, and I asked them, "Yo, man, what kind of global impact is this going to have? Or what exactly is happening right now?"
Right.
That's the people I want to hear from.
Yeah, but like Charlamagne, like before you were on the radio, you were black.
Absolutely.
And you had to you have a black family, and you understand black issues. Like, like you could you could walk out of the Breakfast Club right now and become a private citizen and never have to do anything, but you'll still be black. You know what I'm saying? So it's like certain things should run deep with you, with everyone.
But we don't know if they don't though. Like we don't know how Drake or Khaled feel about it. What do we want? An Instagram post? A tweet? Like
Yeah, that's true, because we don't know what they're doing. They could be behind the
we
scenes
don't know
doing
what-
stuff. Or it could be like
me a more
Floyd sending a
famous
jet,
Name me a more famous Palestinian than Khaled.
I'm with you, but I don't know how he
You know what I'm
feels
saying?
about this. I can't say he don't feel anything about this situation because he didn't post.
But he's
about
not speaking about it. But he's speaking about his new Jordans. You know what I'm saying? He's doing sneaker shopping right now.
Mhm.
Drake is doing this whole like literally writing paragraphs about Joe Budden because his feelings were hurt over album criticisms. So it's not like they're too busy. They have time to put out things. Like for example, like Andrew Tate was disparaging Canadian men. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he was
I
saying,
seen it.
"Oh, yeah, you know what I'm talking about." He was saying, "Oh, a man from Canada, there's no such thing." Drake responds, "Green light on Andrew Tate." So when Canada gets insulted, he needs to come up and say something. But when his own community that he grew up with, his mother, his everyone's like that, he's remaining silent.
You want him to put green light on Hamas?
No,
Shut
I
up,
do not
man.
want him to do that.
Wow.
Absolutely not.
up, man.
I'm not going to stand behind that. No.
Jesus.
But I feel like he should say something. And I mean, clearly, Drake knows about me. He sees this. You know, I'm sure this is on his radar. I'm sure this is on Khaled's radar. I mean, especially now. You know, I mean, the tweet has like 3 million impressions. But you know,
And by the way, it's only been what? When did it happen?
yesterday,
No, I'm talking about when did the festival happen?
a couple of days ago.
A couple days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
On
talk
the weekend.
too.
On the weekend, yeah.
Well,
You know?
hopefully,
Because people of that power and that, with that influence, to your point, they can't just randomly jump out there and post something. They want to probably take a beat and let's figure out something really powerful to do. Like I heard Floyd Mayweather sending like
His jet, his
private
private jet
jet
over there with
jet over
supplies.
there.
Yeah.
That's something that takes thought. Like I don't want to just post like everybody else. I want to come out and actually do something for people.
So Drake took a lot of thought when he was talking about Joe Budden being broke and flying first class on special occasions.
It took like 2 days.
He has a 767 jet, and like you know what I'm saying. Like people choose to do what they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to stand behind this. These are two very powerful voices, and they have huge fan bases behind them. And right now we're in a very divisive time where people are taking sides, and
Which I don't understand, by the way.
but this is the reality. People are taking sides, and people are getting canceled and losing their jobs, everything else like that over it. And I'm not saying to say ridiculous, crazy things, but I put out a tweet that basically said I feel sorry for both. I really feel sorry for both parties and the people that are getting caught up in it. Regardless of what my background is, and something like that could be said and put together by one of these guys or both of them, without getting canceled or ruining their careers. But I think ultimately, and in my tweet, I think they're too worried about staying relevant, staying hot, and not getting a certain group of people not supporting them anymore. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't see what a Drake or Khaled post is going to do to change anything that's going on over there.
Did you see what John Lennon did when he was alive?
Mm-mm.
John Lennon did, Leonard Peltier. I think John Lennon did a whole thing where he got behind it. It was like this Native American guy who was arrested for protesting, and there's a whole story behind it. And he did a whole concert behind him and everything else like that. And Leonard Peltier ended up being freed because at the end of the day, John Lennon was such a huge voice.
That's a different circumstance, though. Like, that's an actual action. That's somebody who's in prison. I don't know what he was in prison for, but you hold a concert, you raise awareness to it. Like, I don't see what could Drake and Khaled do to stop a 1,000-year-old
Drake
war?
did a Free Larry Hoover concert.
That makes more sense. Because that's an actual action. Like, that's something they raise awareness for it. Hopefully Larry Hoover can get free. Like, what could they do to stop a 1,000-year-old war?
They can't stop. And and he didn't stop Larry Hoover from still being in prison, right? Mm-hmm. Larry Hoover's still locked up. But he put his voice out there and he put his support out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it may make a difference in the long run. You know what I'm saying? Like these are powerful voices.
You're just saying that they have these platforms you'd like to
Yes.
see them. I understand what you're saying. I've never seen them do that, so I don't know why they would.
And they
start
haven't.
now. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. And this is why I think that as time goes on and we're talking about many years in the future, people are still talking about Tupac to this day.
Absolutely.
Because of what he said, because of what he did and what he stood for. And other people are just going to be pop artists that, after they pass away and their fans eventually start to pass away, their relevance will pass away as well. They won't live on for, eternity like the iconic people that I mentioned, like a Tupac or a Bob Marley.
Mm-hmm.
But they're free and to do whatever it is, whatever they want to do. I'm just putting out my opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back for 1 second because I just thought about something and maybe you could clear it up. So recently in the news, people are saying that that Diddy was partly responsive for Pac being killed, and he lined Pac up.
Yeah.
Now, with all these interviews, have anybody said anything close to that or even
Hell yeah.
nailed that?
Okay, so according to Keefe D,
Mhm.
he had a meeting with Puffy, and according to him, Puffy said, "I'll give $1 million to get rid of Tupac and Suge because they're putting all this pressure on me and everything else like that." This is not my words. These are Keefe's words.
Okay.
I remember I interviewed Greg Kading about it because he questioned Keefe about this. From Greg Kading's point of view, it didn't sound like, okay, if you do this, I'm going to give this money to you, and here's how we're going to do it, and so forth. It was more of a frustration. It was like two people talking like, man, I can't stand these guys. I'll do anything to get rid of them, according to Greg Kading. So the shooting happened. According to Keefe, in our interview, he said that Puffy called him and said, was that us? Don't know if it's true or not. This is strictly according to Keefe. Now, when you go deeper into the story, Keefe said that Eric Von Zip, who was a New York guy who was an affiliate of Puffy, was the one that gave him the gun to do the shooting that night. And according to Keefe, Puffy gave $1 million to Eric Von Zip to then hand over to Keefe for the shooting. But, according to the people involved, Eric Von Zip kept the money for himself. Now, did this happen? Did this not happen? I don't know. I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was roommates with Eric Von Zip, very close friends. When I asked, do you think this is probable? He said, knowing Eric Von Zip, yeah, that's probably what happened. I remember I interviewed Mike Tyson, and he talked about how him and Von Zip essentially...
Is Von Zip alive now?
No, he's dead.
He's dead, okay.
Yeah, he died of cancer some years back. This is why we're able to kind of freely talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tyson told me a story in our interview how he was hanging out with Von Zip, and Don King came up with a bag of money, and Eric Von Zip essentially robbed him for the money. He's like, hey, hold on, let me just hold on to this, and kind of pushed Don King out the door, and they just kept the money.
Dang.
So Zip has a history of robbing people, essentially. So did this happen? Did this not happen? Did Puffy really pay $1 million? Did Puffy say that they want him dead? It's hard to say. But 26 years later, with Puffy having the best lawyers the money could buy, with a bunch of hearsay, with convicted felons and so forth, I do not see Puffy getting convicted for any of this.
Don't you think that's kind of crazy of people to be even putting that out there? Like, why people wishing that on Puff? Like, I didn't even.
You asked him in the last interview.
I forgot about that. Like,
Yeah,
somebody
come
posted
back
that
up.
yesterday. Yeah, I was like, I forgot I even asked Puff that. I don't even know what doc I was referencing when I asked him that.
Yeah, you asked him that.
Yeah.
Bravo.
And he was like, we don't entertain nonsense.
Right, we don't say nonsense. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
All right. So what's next for Vlad TV? I see you stepping out of the rain. You're doing more than just interviews. You see you doing cars, automobiles. I see you doing houses. I see you doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, man. We did a car feature on your part of your car collection.
That's right.
We did a feature on Boosie Estates. His 88-acre estate. We actually have a whole feature we haven't put out yet on LeVar Ball's house. And for me, MTV Cribs was a very important show in my life because I grew up, as a middle-class kid in the Bay Area. I didn't have, access to mansions and everything else like that. And seeing these celebrities in these houses was like, it was so inspirational.
Inspiring, yeah, me too.
And I remember, I just thought about this recently about how my favorite episode on Cribs was Tommy Lee's house in Calabasas. And I remember just watching, I'm like, yo, this house is beautiful. The area is beautiful. Fast forward to 2022, I bought a house in Calabasas, not too far from Tommy Lee's house. And I just thought about how that show, without me thinking about it, influenced me all these years to go accomplish, to go get that. And, when you look at the Boosie episode at Boosie Estates, like, it's such a great episode. I mean, it's gotten like 2 million views. Boosie bought 88 acres and built like a 30,000 square foot house and built like 6 other houses. There's like 5 houses in the back for his kids with streets named after his kids and his dead homies, 2 basketball courts and everything else like that. And what Boosie
He bought
said,
a community.
he built a whole town around him. And like, real estate, obviously. When I buy a house, when you bought a house, you probably think about the resale value.
Correct.
You think, I might not live here forever, so let me make sure I get the right area and I could resell it at some later point if I choose to go somewhere else or if I need the money. Boosie was just all in. No one's going to buy Boosie's estate because it's so specific to what he did. I've never seen anyone just go all in their own dreams and for their own family.
I love it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's just like...
That's amazing to me, though.
And he even said, like, yo, I got out of prison. He had lost his house while he was in prison because he had a mortgage. He lost everything, lost his house, lost his cars. And he said, okay, when I get out, he just bought the land And he was like, yo, I just built it week by week, 20,000 here, 30,000 here. The main house took a while to build. Then he built this, and he built that. And every time he would get show money or whatever else, you just put a little something extra on it because there were like crews working on the house when I was over there. And it's just, he's like, yo, if I could do it, anyone could do it. And like, you look at the comments, like, yo, I'm so inspired. Like, so many people are like, I'm going to do this.
That was actually, before you telling me this, that was a dream of mine that I had. I can never do it, but I always thought it would be dope if you can buy your own acres like this and your family lives in your own town.
Yes.
Why can't you do it?
I mean, you can, but it's expensive in New Jersey, New York. It's,
Oh yeah, I got mad acres.
Yeah, you got to go down south.
But then also,
Absolutely. South Carolina,
New York and LA, that's hard to do.
Yeah, you got to run your kids to New York, Jersey. But then also, you don't know if your kids want to live there. But I thought it would be dope where you have your own community, where he could put a gate on it, and that gate enters into Boosie's house, his daughter's house, his son's house, his sister-in-law's house, his mother, where you have your own thing. Yeah. So it's like you have your own community, your own basketball court, your own water. So you don't have to you don't have to depend on anybody.
Yes.
And I just thought that was dope. I always thought that was amazing. Even if I could buy every house on my block where, I could go next door to my kid's house, go next door to my daughter's house. I just thought that would be across the street to mama's house. Like, I just thought that would be dope. So I commend Boosie for doing that.
Oh, yeah, people talk about multi-generational wealth, but they don't. Usually it's just a catchphrase.
Right.
Like, you're actually seeing him create multi-generational wealth, this huge property that's going to be part of Boosie's family. And he has, like, I think 9 kids or something like that. It's like, he has a big family and he has a place for that family to live.
That's dope.
And it's amazing. So we're going to do a lot more house features, a lot more house features just to inspire people, really.
I love it. Well, we appreciate you for joining us. VladTV,
That's
tell them how they can check you out, follow you, and all that good stuff.
What interview should we be checking out right now?
I got a Leroy Cohen interview that's about to drop.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's going to be a big one. In the interview, actually, I asked him, I said, are you the most powerful person in music? He was like, no, definitely not. I'm like, well, you're the global head of YouTube music. YouTube is the biggest music platform on earth. So by default, does that make you the most powerful person in music? He's like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But that's a very dope interview that's coming out. There's a new Faison Love interview that's out. Just a bunch of stuff in the works.
Where?
A bunch of stuff in the works. But the Leroy Cohen one is sort of a special one that I've been holding on to for a little while.
Got you.
Okay. Well, ladies
DJ
and
Vlad.
it's Vlad.
Yeah.
VladTV, and it's the Breakfast Club.
Thank
Good morning.
you, man.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.